Welcome everyone this evening to the Planning Commission meeting. We'll call the meeting to order. As is customary at all Brandon Township public meetings, we recite the Pledge of Allegiance and we invite all of you who are so inclined to join us in that. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Courtney, would you call the roll, please?
Hall. Here. Orsini. Here. Ferrara. Present. Evans.
Yes.
Dean.
Here.
Cordella.
Here.
Lothian.
Here. We have one set of minutes to deal with this evening, and they are from our regular meeting on May 14th, 2019. Is there any discussion on the minutes as published? Hearing no discussion, we will entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the meeting minutes of the regular scheduled meeting of the Brandon Township Planning Commission on May 14, 2019.
Second.
There's a motion by Jody, second, is that you, Mark?
Yes.
Seconded by Mark. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Minutes are approved as published. You all received a copy of the agenda. There is a revised version in front of you. The one we got by email was changed. There are two pieces of legislation that we will be dealing with this evening. Does anybody have any comments, additions to the agenda? We will accept it then as published. Chairman has no comments this evening. Planning Commission members, Chris?
Not right now.
Mark?
No, thank you.
Donna?
No, thank you, sir.
Joe?
No, thank you, sir.
Jody?
No. Mr.
Lisa?
Chair. No, thank you.
Old business, we have none. New business. As I said before, we have two items that we're dealing with tonight. They are amendments to current ordinances that the township has in place. The first one is Chapter 46, Article 3, Section 46-204B3. The second one is Chapter 46, Article 3, Section 46-205B2. These ordinances are pretty much the same with the exception that they deal with different zoning districts. First one deals with rural estates. The second one deals with single-family residential R1A and R1B. Mr. Denon, you have a statement on behalf of the township you'd like to make?
Open statement. First, I'd like to list facts that are public knowledge or public matters. In this particular issue, it is a public fact that the township has been sued in federal court over this issue. The second is that the township board had voted in a public forum to forward this ordinance to the planning commission for input and recommendation. As a note, however, just want you to know, under current state law, under the Zoning Enabling Act, that any recommendation that the planning commission makes to the township board does not require the township board to follow your recommendation. They act independent and according to their wishes. What this board is meant for under the law is to take public comment. So that being said, final authority rests within the township board. So No matter the outcome of it, though, it is the township's position that the township is not saying by changing this ordinance that there is anything wrong with the ordinance that was there. However, the correction that is being proposed based on all current considerations and the lawsuit, as I mentioned just a minute ago. And that is believe that there is a better way to deal with the matter at hand than through the current ordinance as written. So the proposed ordinance is to revise it and deal with the issue in a different manner. That being said, there was a number of written comments submitted pursuant to this public hearing. Those have been requested to be read into the minutes or read into the record. So the chairman this evening has graciously offered to read those comments into the record. However, if written comments were received and read into the record, that letter will serve as a response from the person and therefore will not be receiving verbal comments from that person if they are in the audience this evening. Each person in the audience will have a 3-minute period to offer their public opinion on this issue. However, submitting a written document doesn't give them the opportunity to speak it all over again. So at the time, if they have submitted a written document and they wish to speak, they're more than welcome to retrieve that and then spend their 3 minutes. So that all being said, if there's any questions, I will do my best to answer your questions. This is for the audience's knowledge. This is not a question-answer period. This is for them to offer their public comment for the Planning Commission to base a decision on what they wish to recommend to the Township Board. Question, Chris?
Yeah, Bill. So if someone submitted something via email to us that Kathy passed on to us, and they happen to be here tonight, they can basically, we don't need to read it, they can come up here and they can read it themselves.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
Good.
It was just to make sure that we don't keep hearing the same thing
Right.
over and over
Yeah,
again.
you
And
don't want
I thought there would be
They
plenty
can
of
say the
comments.
same thing that somebody comes up
Right.
here and says.
Yeah, well, they can, but they don't get 2 times that. So if somebody submitted something in writing via email, or we did receive some hand-delivered, but all of those have been printed out, and the chairman, as well as each one of you, have a copy of each one of them.
Thank you.
Jody?
Bill, I just have a couple questions. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Okay, you said the township's being sued in federal court. What type of lawsuit is it? Do you know?
It has to do with the Fair Housing Act, and it has to do with the issue relative to what you're here tonight to discuss. That with that being said, I prefer not to discuss it anymore because it's currently still open litigation.
Okay. I don't want any kind of trial strategy. I just wondered what claims they were making in federal court. So it's a discrimination case?
It's under the Fair Housing Act.
Okay.
Correct.
And you said the township board's correction to this the township board, if I get this right, the township board requests us to review this ordinance because of the lawsuit? Or why are they asking us to review this ordinance?
Yes, well, there's a couple of reasons. One is that the State Zoning Enabling Act requires a change in the zoning ordinance come to the Planning Commission for a recommendation of the
Okay.
Township Board. That's just a state law, you have to do that.
Yeah, I understand.
And these 2 ordinances that you'll be hearing about this evening are out of the zoning ordinance.
Yeah.
So, and then based on current considerations, which one of them is the current lawsuit, the Township Board at a public meeting forwarded these to you for taking the public hearing and making a recommendation.
To change them.
Yes, as presented.
But I guess I'm concerned, why, I mean, I don't have, I mean, there's nothing in my agenda packet, why are we being asked to review them? That's my only, because of this lawsuit?
No, it's because it's a change in the ordinance.
Yeah, I understand that, but there has, okay, I guess I'm a little confused, the factual basis for why it's here.
Let me respond in this way. There's a reason I'm sitting here and not an attorney,
Okay.
because that type of information is, at the present time, it's open litigation, therefore, the extent, I mean, what would pose an answer to that may have to do with some of the litigation that's taking place.
Mr. Gannon, I have a question, sir. To your knowledge, has Brandon Township ever been involved in a Fair Housing Act litigation similar to this?
I'm not,
You've
not
been-
to my knowledge.
Okay. And the one that we are currently undertaking, this is isolated with this particular company and gentleman at this time?
I
The single
will not,
parties?
I can't respond to
Okay.
that.
Okay. Thank you.
I'm really limited is what I can say, because the litigation is still open, still pending, and still, so I'm very limited. All I can tell you is that the township attorney told me that it's public information that the township was sued in federal court over this matter.
So am I correct in assuming on behalf of my own understanding and on behalf of my residents that the long and short of it is Brandon Township is right here and the state of Michigan is right here?
And the federal government
And the
is one
federal
step above
government.
that. Well, that's just
Okay.
general, that's just general knowledge on how
Yeah.
the
But I mean, for the
applicability of
audience
laws
sake-
goes.
For
Correct.
the audience sake, so they understand the limitness of our recommendation and what we may be compelled to do under state statute.
Well, that's why I was trying to be clear in my opening statement, in that you can make whatever recommendation you wish to make. However, the township board is not obligated to follow your recommendation. So,
Any other questions or comments from planning commission members at this time?
Yeah, I guess, can I just make one more comment?
Of course.
Maybe, this is what I'm grappling with. I have no, I mean, I understand the township board met with the attorney in closed session to discuss items, but we have no information upon which to, to make a decision of why I should change this. I mean, I understand there's a lawsuit, but I mean,
I
there's
can
nothing.
I can make one more comment.
But I
that may help clear this up. This didn't come to you from me.
Yeah.
Didn't come to you from the administration. It came to you by motion of the township board for you to review this. So the township board is the one that says, here you go, planning commission, take the public comments and make a recommendation.
So can I ask our liaison?
I don't believe he will answer
Oh,
because he's
okay.
part of the township board, and he's actually not here to answer those questions. I am, to the point that I can, through the information I got from the township attorney.
I agree with Jody. I guess my one and only question is, why is it before us?
Because the state law says that you have to follow the
Have a
zoning
public hearing.
enabling act.
I get that. I know the logistics of it, Bill, but I didn't mean why,
Let's
what's our
back up.
job.
Let me back up that statement. I'll give you my opinion, strictly my opinion, not the opinion of the township board, not the opinion of the township, but Bill Finnan's opinion is that if the state law didn't require you to take public comment on a zoning ordinance change, we probably would not be sitting here this evening. Does that help answer your question?
I guess my problem is when I vote to change something, I understand that procedurally, the ordinance has to come to us to vote, but I have to have some reason except to vote to repeal it and replace the language. Other than there's a lawsuit, because I don't know, is the lawsuit, is it a viable lawsuit? Have they made a good claim? Is the township gonna win on motion to dismiss? So those are the questions, and I understand those are probably discussed in closed session, and that's why Chris can't talk, because he's obligated by law not to talk about items in closed session.
Well,
But that's,
I mean,
this is what the planning
No, I-
commission's job is. If the information in front of you isn't what you believe should be in this ordinance book, then you make a motion to make a recommendation that the township board, you deny this, or you turn it down, or make your recommendation, they turn it down. All I can say to you is, they don't have to follow your recommendation.
But if there's a legal reason why I need to adopt this, or why I'm sorry, I don't mean to be difficult, I'm just trying to understand this, but
No, I
if there's
get
a
it.
legal reason why this ordinance change is necessary, I think, I don't know, I feel like I need to know that. I mean, I can listen to public comment, and I have a feeling based on the letters we received, the way it's gonna go, but I guess, I don't know.
I've had 3 attorneys offer advice relative to this. And as I read earlier, due to all current conditions, this ordinance change is one of the areas on how this whole thing can get at least resolved through the court system. I'm not saying it's a resolution of everything in its entirety, but I can't say any more than that. I'm really limited. Chris, you're on your
well,
own.
let me add something that might help out everyone here on the planning commission. Okay, now, obviously I'm on the board and I was in those closed session meetings, and I, as a board member, I did get correspondence from one of our attorneys, okay? And this might help clarify why we're here, and for everyone, why we're here. And it's basically what we can say with regards to the litigation, what we can't say. But what we can say, and I did clear this with Supervisor Thurman, is this. It's like, the big question is, why amend the ordinance, right? Okay, now the simplest, this is our attorney's words, okay? The simplest answer is that based on the existing lawsuit and federal case law, the Township Board has proposed the amendment in the township's best interest. Okay, that's basically where it's at.
Bill, I think I'm correct, you can correct me if I'm not, but it was the planning commission who put the 500 feet restriction between these facilities in the ordinance some time ago, which was then passed by the township board, and it became effective.
Actually, that's true, but let me back up one more step and say it was the township board that recommended that be put in, and then subsequently passed.
Yes, we held public hearings on putting that 500-foot restriction between those facilities. Some of you folks may have been here for those hearings. We approved that and passed it on as a recommendation to the township board, which they then put into effect. Now, my understanding is the township board has sent it back to us to remove the 500 feet. Based on their dealings with the township attorney and the federal lawsuit that exists, and we don't have access to all the fine points of what's gone on in the township board. All we know is they sent it back to us, telling us that we need to review that and delete the 500 feet. There were members of this commission who wanted to make that 1,500 feet. The attorney told us not to do that, so we did not. We put the 500 feet in there and sent it to the township board. Now it's back here, asking us to delete it. So, Is there anything else anybody, any other statements anybody wants to make before we start the first of our 2 public hearings? Okay. We will open the public hearing at 7:21 p.m. to discuss Chapter 46, Article 3, Section 46204B3. This is the section of the ordinance that removes the 500 feet restriction in the rural estate zoning district. Before I begin asking for public comment, let me tell you there are rules for public hearings. Anybody who wants to speak will be given an opportunity to speak. You will be given 3 minutes. It will not be a question and answer session with the Planning Commission or the Building and Planning Director. It will be an opportunity for you to share with us your opinion on the ordinance change that is before us. And I have before me 4 different pieces of correspondence. I would ask if any of the people that wrote these are present in the audience tonight. One from Jonathan Schechter, 3650 Granger Road. Another from Pamela Colin. You are here, you wrote to the board. There are 2 options. You can speak during the public hearing, or I can read your comments into the record, whichever you prefer.
I'll let you read them.
Okay? Matthew and Sheila Eckert. And the final is from Lisa Pagano Lawrence and Michael Lawrence. Okay. Then I will read into the record the correspondence that we have received regarding, I assume regarding both of these ordinances, because like I said, it is the same. It just removes the 500 feet restriction from 2 different zoning districts. The first I will read, and Courtney, you have these, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
What I'll do is just have the Stacy, just insert them right into the minutes.
Okay, we'll read them into the record. The first one being from Jonathan Schechter, 3650 Granger Road. I'm sorry that I'm not able to attend tonight's meeting to speak directly and answer any questions openly and honestly, but I am away at the moment on a special assignment with the National Park Service. Please be advised that I am an adjacent property owner with the entire eastern side of the group home facility at 301 Sleepy Hollow, immediately adjacent to a section of my western property line. I strongly urge the Commission to keep the ordinance in question intact, and worry will happen next if he expands his business. I base this on my lack of trust in Mr. Barnett's intent and his display of contempt for me. Contempt is a strong word. Let me explain my use of that word in as few words as possible. Months before he housed criminal sex offenders at 301 Sleepy Hollow, his contracted employees cut trees on my property over 50 feet into my property to establish their secret shooting lane for deer poaching. They also baited my property with corn and set camera traps on my property. I stumbled upon a blood trail on a snowy day that led me to the shooting lane where a deer was dragged back to 301, and also discovered shooting slats cut in the east wall of a treehouse left by the previous owner at 301. I notified the Law Enforcement Division of the Michigan Department of Natural Resources, and in less than 1 hour, a conservation officer arrived on the scene. followed the clear blood trail of evidence leading to 301 and made contact with his employees. The officer returned the next day, searched the premises, and confiscated the deer, and the case went to the prosecutor. Why do I say contempt? Barnett was made aware of the situation and not a single word of apology or offer to transplant trees. Nothing. Would you want someone who behaves in such a manner to operate a second facility? After the facilitate, I'm sure that means facility, had new residents, trespassing minus the deer poaching continued, and my newly installed security cameras captured 2 unattended residents attempting to breach my newly constructed fence. I confronted them, and they told me they were looking for their lost phone on my property, which made no sense since it was fenced a few days later, I discovered a cell phone well into my property, meaning they most likely went around the end of the fence. I shared the photos with the Township Supervisor Thurman and the substation of the Oakland County Sheriff's Office. I turned the phone over to the Sheriff's Department, and deputies made contact concerning the phone situation. Again, no apology from Barnett, but after I sent him a formal letter advising him that I will consider all trespassing for any purpose as criminal trespassing, he wrote back stating that he would add offense. But as for a sincere apology for the damage done to my trees, the deer poaching, or trespassing, that never came. That to me is contempt. Keep the ordinance. That is the end of Mr. Schechter's statement. Pamela Colin, who is here with us tonight, wrote an email to the Township Planning Commission. She says, I am writing to ask that you uphold the decision not to allow group homes to be located within 500 feet of each other. I live on Saddle Lane, a road that was once quiet and safe, a private road. Now I have continuous traffic. There are shift changes for the group home workers, extra garbage trucks, support staff cars, and most of all, the transport vans that travel in and out regularly all day. It truly is like living on a busy main road. The people coming in and out have no regards for the people living on this road. I'm appalled daily at their speed and lack of respect for the stop sign that is close to my driveway. I never imagined that I would have to worry about pulling out of my driveway. If another assisted living home is allowed to operate within 500 feet of the existing home, I cannot imagine what it will be like living on this once quiet private drive. I moved here to enjoy a quiet retirement atmosphere that has been ruined and unfortunately could even get worse. I am pleading with the township to protect the residents of Saddle Lane and Sleepy Hollow. Signed respectively, Pamela J. Colin, 450 Saddle Lane, Ortonville. The next statement is from Matthew and Sheila Eckert. Address is 426 Saddle Lane, Ortonville, Michigan. Is dated May 28, 2019. To the Brandon Township Planning Commission. It has come to our attention that there will be a settlement reached in regard to the Flat Rock Group Home on Sleepy Hollow and with the owner and operator of said group home, Nick Burnett. We moved to Brandon Township years ago with the intention of finding peace and quiet as well as peace of mind. We put our trust in the community leaders to protect our interests and to maintain a safe and harmonious environment within our neighborhoods. Our particular neighborhood has been dealing with an ongoing problem for well over a year, beginning with a rude and dishonest introduction to our newest neighbor, a very pompous man by the name of Nick Burnett. Our introduction began at a neighborhood meeting. Mr. Burnett informed the residents that his group home would house men with special needs. He further communicated to us that we should get to know these men, let them do a few odd jobs around the neighborhood, and welcome them as part of our community. He forgot to mention that these men were Tier 2 and Tier 3 sex offenders. During this meeting, he mentioned his desire to buy all of our homes and expand his enterprise. With this, so began our neighborhood's battle to get this disrespectful and distasteful man out of our neighborhood, with the expressed interest of protecting all of Brandon Township in the process. With a second house in our neighborhood being put up for sale, you graciously put an ordinance in place to stop Mr. Burnett from purchasing more group homes in the area. However, despite the ordinance, and the homeowners most affected by the group home put their homes up for sale, Mr. Burnett purchased it for more group home development. 3 more of our neighbors are now selling their houses with this news, meaning the community is at risk of becoming a business enterprise as opposed to the family-oriented community it once was. What began as a civil integration of Mr. Burnett and his enterprise in our community, however brief, has turned into a complete takeover of the neighborhood and a blatant disregard for the interests of the residents thereof. The employees of the group homes speed down the gravel roads late at night, radios blaring, damaging the roads and disturbing the peace of the neighborhood. Instead of enjoying the sounds of birds chirping, we hear the cursing and arguing of group home employees, even though we live the furthest from them. In the past year, several police have been called out to deal with the problems and complaints about Flat Rock Manor, what was originally advertised as an institution that would respect the rules of the community is, in reality, the opposite. We cannot tolerate this. This past year has taken a toll on all the residents of Saddle Lane and Sleepy Hollow. We sincerely appreciate the work you have done thus far in protecting our neighborhood from this threat. And we only ask that you continue to the fight and protect the good citizens of our community and the community of Brandon Township, today and in the future. Sincerely, Matthew and Sheila Eckert. And the final piece of correspondence I have before me, and it is a long one, I'll do my best to get to it for y'all, is from Lisa Pagano Lawrence and Michael Lawrence. Their address is 326 Sleepy Hollow, Ortonville, Michigan. Dear committee members, in regard to the proposed amendments to Chapter 46, Article 3, Section 46-204, as a very concerned resident of Sleepy Hollow, I would implore the Planning Commission to seriously consider the implication of removing the only possibility we have left to protect our property values and neighborhood from further being taken over by criminals. As it is, we have been living a nightmare for the past year. When the board put this ordinance in place, we felt there may be some hope for us to be able to live peacefully in our homes. If the 500-foot restriction is removed, it will open the door for our entire neighborhood to be turned into group homes. First, I would point out that there is a clear difference between a foster care family home and a foster care small group home. The family home is a residence in which the licensee must be a member of the household and occupant of the residence. A small group home has no such provision. Chapter 46, Article 3, Section 46-204, Rural Estate District RE B3, as listed on Brandon Township website, and Section 46-205, Single Family Residential R1A and R1B B2, list as permitted uses adult foster care family homes, foster family homes, foster family group homes, and family child care homes as required by Section 206 of the Public Act Number 110 of 2006, MCL 125.3206. It does not list adult foster care facilities or foster care small group home as permitted use. We would welcome a family home as we believe the licensee would have a vested interest in maintaining the property and the property values in such a home, as well as the additional concern for the safety of local residents, as they are also a resident. As a licensed small group home owner, there may be no incentive to preserve property values, and there may in fact be an incentive to devalue those homes, as that may make other nearby properties more cost-effective to purchase and develop more small group homes. Non-resident owners may also have no concern for the safety of local residents, as they do not have to live with the consequences of having criminals or sex offenders in their neighborhood near their children. I would also like to note that Public Act 110 explicitly states subsection 1 does not apply to adult foster care facilities licensed by a state agency for care and treatment of persons released from or assigned to adult correctional institutions. The safety concerns we have as a result of our experience with the AFC at 301 Sleepy Hollow are illegal hunting on residential property, illegal discharge of a firearm in close proximity to an occupied residence, mentally challenged individuals having access to firearms, convicted criminals possessing or discharging a firearm, trespassing, threatening neighbors, burglary, breaking and entering, etc. Criminal residents and employees pose a serious danger to others living nearby. Individuals who have been convicted of shooting, stabbing, or raping other people are likely to be a greater threat to the residents based on the historic rates of repeat offenders. The Adult Foster Care Licensing Act, Act 218 of 1979, Section 400.734B, states that an adult foster care facility shall not employ an individual who has been convicted of a number of crimes, parens, patient abuse, health care fraud, abuse of a controlled substance, cruelty, criminal sexual conduct, firearms or weapons, diversion or adulteration of a prescription drug, felony misdemeanor, home invasion, larceny, retail fraud, etc. Close parentheses. The AFC shall not employ an individual until it has conducted a criminal history check. It is apparent due to previous incidents at the existing AFC that criminal history checks were not properly conducted. If the ordinance must be amended, I would like to see a provision in the relevant ordinance that requires the AFC licensee to submit to the township criminal history checks for all employees to ensure compliance. We are asking that the board, bullet point 1, amends chapter 46, article 111, article 3, I think, section 46-204B3, to explicitly permit family homes to exclude small group homes which have a licensee who is not a member of the household and is not an occupant of the residence. Bullet point 2, explicitly exclude facilities licensed by a state agency that will allow residents who have been released from or assigned to adult correctional institutions, as well as excluding facilities that hire criminals or ex-convicts, and to define the penalties for violating this ordinance. Bullet point 3, when amending the ordinance effective 10/22/18, to maintain the statement, further provided that such facilities shall be located on a primary or a secondary road that is maintained by the RCOC which is the Road Commission, Oakland County. Explain in detail what action will be taken upon violation of this ordinance if passed. I want to be clear that the current residents of Sleepy Hollow do not have any concerns about having mentally challenged or developmentally disabled persons living in our community. We do, however, have a very legitimate concern about having criminals as residents and/or employees in the business that is located in our residential neighborhood. Please consider our concerns about amending this ordinance, as it will have a profound effect on the entire Brandon Township community. It is signed sincerely, Lisa Pagano Lawrence and Michael Lawrence. So, having read those into the record,
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Bennett?
I've got one other.
Well,
Was in our packet. I don't know.
I don't know that the name is recognizable at the end, but I think you should read this into the record also. And I don't believe it's necessary to read into the record the attachments that are with it, but at the very minimum, read into the record the letter itself. The attachments are public information. Anybody can look them up if they see fit.
okay. I did not see that. I apologize. We've got one more to read into the record. This one says, to all planning commission board members. Can't read the signature. Do you know who
No,
that's from?
I don't know who that is.
Okay. If the person who wrote this is present, please let me know as I start to go through this, and I will either stop, I'll continue to read it if you want, or I will allow you your 3 minutes to speak. To all Planning Commission board members, this letter is being written concerning the repeal of the group home ordinance. It is strongly encouraged that you do not repeal this 500-foot ordinance. The township should have some control as to how many group homes are permitted in an area. This is necessary for the safety of the community as well as the safety of group home residents. This letter isn't saying ban all group homes from Brandon Township. It's simply saying that they should be spread out and not permitted to be across the street or next door to another group home. Let's look at the current situation on Sleepy Hollow and the issues the group home on that street have caused. One group home already exists on this small dead-end street. The owner of the first group home has purchased a second home on Sleepy Hollow. He has plans to turn this home into a group home too. This street consists of only 5 houses. If a second group home is permitted to open and operate, then 40% of the said street would consist of group homes. That is an excessive concentration of group homes to one specific area. The increase in traffic flow from one group home is already drastic, with 3 different shift changes daily, 3 employees leaving per shift, with 3 new employees arriving. Group home vans continuously coming and going throughout all hours of the day and night. Mental health care professionals, employees, doctors, visitors, as well as the police. There can be a minimum of 10 to 12 cars at one time in the driveway and parked on the street for just one group home. This would double with the addition of a second group home. There has been a significant increase of police calls made to the already existing group home on that street due to medical issues, employees threatening nearby neighbors, trespassing of group home residents on neighboring property, illegal hunting, firing of guns in an unlawful area, unauthorized removing of neighbors' trees and bushes, and poaching from associates of current group home, destruction of nearby surrounding residents' property. What will happen to that small dead-end street if there are 2 group homes permitted? Think of the impact two group homes would have on that small dead-end street and to the residents that live on that street and the surrounding neighbors. It is acknowledged the need for group homes to care for the mentally impaired and integrate them back into society. If group homes are right next door to each other or directly across the street from one another, how is that integrating them back in society with other peers? It is segregating them to a specific area with peers that share the same disabilities. How is this beneficial to a group home resident? A major concern, if a second group home is permitted to operate on Sleepy Hollow, is the type of residents that will be living at this facility. The group homeowner has already housed convicted criminals that were paroled directly into this group home. They were 2 sex offenders, tier 2 and 3, one being a pedophile. They were released from a level 4 prison directly into a quiet rural street with children and families. Another major concern are the employees working at these homes. 300 Sleepy Hollow has already received a violation because a background check wasn't completed on employee Tyler Carruthers. Mr. Carruthers, while employed at this home, threatened a neighbor and his family. This resulted in the family moving out of the neighborhood. The group homeowner had his accountant purchase this home and then transferred the deed over to him 1 month later. Mr. Carruthers was on probation at the time of the incident. If you have a criminal background check, you're not allowed, if you have a criminal background, you're not allowed to work at these facilities. See enclosed copy of violation. How are the police going to ensure the safety of Brandon Township residents? Do they have enough manpower? It is highly encouraged that you say no to this repeal. The Brandon Township Board adopted an ordinance for the protection of its citizens. It is signed with a signature which I am unable to read. Now, I think we've all got them read into public record as much as I stumbled through it. And Courtney, these should be included in both of the public hearings that we will be having because they refer to both in terms of documentation. Okay, once again, when we were ready to start, I said that a public hearing gives everyone who wants to speak an opportunity to speak. All you need to do is raise your hand. I will recognize you. You will need to give us your name and your address for the record. Courtney may interrupt if she doesn't get that information from you so that it does go on the record. As I said, it's 3 minutes for you to give your comments to the Planning Commission about the first piece of ordinance amendment that we have before us. I should read that before we start the public hearing because we will conduct 2 public hearings tonight on each one of those ordinance amendments. So the first one that we're going to deal with is Chapter 46, Article 3, Section 46-204B3, to amend the permitted uses in the Rural Estates District to delete the provision requiring that no 2 adult foster care facilities will be located within 500 feet of each other as measured linearly between the closest property lines and to include state licensed residential facilities, including adult foster care facilities consistent with law. So that is the first public hearing we are conducting. If you would like to give us your 3 minutes of comments, keep in mind it's not question and answer of us or Mr. Denon. It's your opportunity to tell us what you think about the changes to the ordinance. Okay, the public hearing is open. Yes, sir, please give us your name and address for the record.
Dave Burley, 330 Sleepy Hollow.
Mr. Burley,
Up there.
you can do it from wherever you are. Doesn't matter. That's not, It's not a recording mic anyway.
Okay.
Chairman Lillian, do you wish me to time?
No.
Okay.
First, thanks for letting me speak. Mine's not a letter, it's more of a bullet point. If anybody wants a copy, I can give you a copy, or I got it's a PowerPoint. I got some documents and
Copy to the secretary, please?
Yeah, if you're going to read it, please give a copy to the recorder when you're done.
Okay. All right. So this is just kind of the history of things that have gone on in the last year since this all took place. First thing, right out of the gate, the adult foster care facility owner, Burnett, as you already know, he misrepresented to the previous owner who would occupy the house, right? So he started with a lie right out of the gate. The second thing, he had a meeting with all of us, and he made a statement in that meeting saying when the value, because we asked him about the value of homes in this situation, he said, when the value of homes go down far enough, I'll purchase them. So there's intent there, and this has all kind of got to do with safety. Then the poaching incident, you already read that a couple times, so I won't go through it again. But that was another incident. And then he also misrepresented us at the Morley home as far as what I just said about being, the value of the homes go down, and he misrepresented as far as saying, I am going to move in 18 to 25-year-old autistic people, and we were fine with that. And then research went on to find out who was in there. Well, the sex offenders were in there. That's how it was uncovered in the first place. So every single thing we talked to him about the first 4 months was a total lie. Then he had employees hired criminal backgrounds. You already heard that one. And one of the families moved out across the street in the other home that he purchased now due to altercation with people and threats that were made on himself and his daughter. So, I mean, everything about this guy is just, it started out going downhill, and all it did was pick up speed. It kept going downhill. Crime in that area and around in Brandon, so I don't know if this is part of that, but it went up last year, and that was stated at a meeting by Lieutenant Glover. And I know that we had to call the police one time because there was an altercation down there. We thought it was turning into an altercation. And shortly thereafter, my barn was broke into and some of my stuff was stolen. So I don't know if that's supposed to be a threat, but. And then other families, you know, that had kids, you know, people make up play dates. I'll bring the kids to your house, you bring the kids to my house. They wouldn't do it no more. The other people wouldn't come to Sleepy Hollow. So that forced all the work onto the people that lived on Sleepy Hollow. Also, we had our house up for sale, and there's relatives of Nick Burnett's coming in posing as buyers. Because they were found on Facebook, picture right there with the name underneath it. And relatives of his coming through, he's sending them through anybody's house that's for sale in the area. Everybody pretty much either updated their alarm system, right? Or we purchased one at our house because we never had one. We've been there 20 years. Never had an alarm, never had a need to. I've left my barn door open, I don't know how many times by accident. Never had a problem. This time I had it locked and shut and just broke into. Inside here, I can give you that on the stick. I have this document, and this is a copy of the one area I read in the document. This will probably come up again. It's under discrimination, housing based upon disability. It's a Department of Justice document. And the one part I got highlighted, it says, current users of illegal controlled substances, persons convicted for illegal manufacture or distribution of controlled substance, sex offenders, and juvenile offenders are not considered disabled under the Fair Housing Act by virtue of that status. It also says the Fair Housing Act affords no protections to individuals with or without disabilities who present a direct threat to the persons or property of others. So So all those are safety issues that have been violated in the last year by the same individual, company, wherever you want to place the blame. In here, I also have a map of the area. So you can see from that, well, here's me, there's two of my neighbors, here's the first group home. The second one is this one. So the intent here, right, is to lock us in, lower our values. We sell out and move. He can buy them, right? I mean, I can't say that's what he's gonna do for sure, but look at the map, it kind of tells the story. And he's already made the statement. The last one, I could do this in the second one, it's a short one, operating business in a residential area. And I know there's some gray laws in there. So multiple cars in and out of the residence, up to their shift change at 3, 11, 7. I don't know any residential areas that have a shift change 3 times a day. So you're operating a business in a residential area. He makes money off it, so it's a business. Cars parked in multiple driveways with he's got a garbage dumpster basically out plain sight. Multiple police incidents, like I said, over the last year, the previous 18 years I was there. I might have saw one police car go down the street. I mean, I work a lot of hours and not home very often, but just to give you an example, I saw quite a few in the last year, all related to that. And it wasn't just health issues of people in the house. And then road maintenance, we pay for that road maintenance. So where he comes, he doesn't have to come all the way down to where our house is, but we gotta pass through that, and we pay for that. People on Saddle Lane and the Sleepy Hollow pay for that. He'd probably chip in, but what's his share when he's got medical vehicles and everything else coming up and down that street? And then the last one was those homes are 4 miles away from any prospective employment because they're intended to be residential, not business district. So for him to move there and say he's going to get everybody back into society, couldn't be moved in a commercial area and work right where there's a business. That's all I got to say. Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Burley. Can you give a copy of that to our recorder?
Would you prefer me to just email it to you?
You can tell if you've got it up here.
Mr. Burley has his documents on a flash drive, so we're transferring that to our computer. It'll take just a second.
Yep, that's it. Now that, if you double click it, don't do it right now. But it'll open up for you.
Okay.
And that document, you got this, and also there's the link for that document. So it's all.
Got what you need, Courtney?
I'm good. He just wanted to offer this
Okay.
for you to view.
You need that back, Mr. Burley?
No.
Okay. Thank you. Anyone else who would like to speak on this ordinance amendment that's before us now? Please give me your name and address, please.
Tracy Morley, 327 City Hall.
Okay?
We keep hearing about the Larkin versus the state of Michigan case, which determined that 1,500-foot spacing of the adult foster care homes violates the Fair Housing Act. However, I feel the situation at Sleepy Hollow is different than the Larkin case. In the Larkin case, the adult foster care home was an adult foster care family home. An adult foster family group home is a residence in which the licensee must be a member of the household and an occupant of the residence. In an adult small group home, the licensee is not required to live at the residence. On Sleepy Hollow, the licensee does not live at the residence and operates the adult foster group home as a business in a residential area. In the Larkin case, the residents of the family group home were mentally ill, developmentally disabled, or physically disabled, and did not have past criminal backgrounds. The Larkin residents were not released from a correctional facility. The initial residents released to 301 Sleepy Hollow were released directly from a correctional facility and were convicted sex offenders. According to a Fair Housing Act summary, sex offenders are not considered disabled under the Fair Housing Act. The Fair Housing Act affords no protection to individuals with or without disabilities who present a direct threat to persons or property of others. In the Larkin case, the family group home was not located on a dead-end lane with only 5 homes. Under Brandon Charter Township Code of Ordinances, Section 46-29, it states, "The purpose of the ordinances are for promoting and protecting the public health, safety, comfort, convenience, and general welfare of the residents, merchants, and workers." I feel the group home located on, and the potential group home to be located on Sleepy Hollow, violate Brandon's ordinances because they do not provide public health and safety to me, my family, and the residents of Brandon Township. Listed below are examples where this group home does not safely protect us as residents. By not living at these homes, I feel there is no vested interest in keeping me and my family safe. My children can no longer ride their bikes and scooters on our dead-end lane due to excessive traffic, traveling at excessive speeds. Based on my calculations, 301 Sleepy Hollow averages 12 cars per day, and on several occasions, I have been able to count 20 vehicles in the driveway at one time. I feel this is an area that should be reviewed and added to the township ordinances. The owner of 301 Sleepy Hollow placed a known pedophile next to my children. The owner of 301 Sleepy Hollow allowed a friend to hunt within 450 feet, which is considered a safety zone, of our home. According to the Michigan Hunting and Tracking Rules, no person may hunt with a firearm in the safety zone or shoot at any wild animal within a safety zone without the written permission of the owner or occupant of the property. We did not give permission, and this individual knowingly placed our children in harm's way. 301 Sleepy Hollow received a licensing violation for improper hiring procedures because they failed to conduct a proper background check before hiring an employee to work at 301 Sleepy Hollow. The employee hired had a criminal background and should not have been hired. Therefore, again, placing my family in danger. I have 16 copies of police case reports. There may be more, but this is what I had in my file relating to this Sleepy Hollow group home. Again, placing my family in unsafe situations, therefore violating our own township ordinances regarding the safety of the residents. I have documentation for each of the points discussed.
Wish me to pass this down or just keep it for the record?
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak on this issue? Please give us your name and address, and if you could come up, it is closer to the recorder, it might save us from missing.
Can I ask a question first? Am I allowed to speak on both of the ordinances? Or do you prefer I do it all at one time? on
Well-
everything?
I was going to ask Mr. Denon if we could include comments from the first public hearing in the record for the second one.
Yes.
Since it's basically the same ordinance, it just deals with two different zoning districts. So that's what I propose to do, is whoever comments on the first one will include those comments and letters in the second one.
Okay. If I can break it up. My name is Diane Burley. I live at 330 Sleepy Hollow. So to address the first one, Brandon Zoning District, Section 46-204, Real Estate District, B, permitted uses. Number 3, adult foster care family homes, foster family group homes, and family child care homes, as required by Section 206 of Public Act Number 110 of 2006. It doesn't list adult foster care facility or small group homes. I'd like to point out the difference between an adult foster care group home, let's see here, a room and board facility. They're a facility that rents one room to an individual and charges a monthly rental fee. This type of home can be licensed or unlicensed and may not have any supervision. An adult foster care family home, which is referred to in the act that I just read, is a private residence with the approved capacity to receive 6 or fewer adults, to be provided with foster care for 5 or more days a week and for 2 or more consecutive weeks. The adult foster care family home licensee shall be a member of the household and an occupant of the residence. An adult foster care small group home means an adult foster care facility with the approved capacity to receive 12 or fewer adults to be provided with foster care. These facilities can be licensed or unlicensed. Adult foster care large group home means an adult foster care facility with the approved capacity to receive at least 13 but not more than 20 adults to be provided with foster care. These facilities can be licensed or unlicensed. Specialized adult foster care home is a home for individuals that have continually failed to live in different settings, which can include different AFCs. They're a danger to themselves as well as to society and require 24/7 care. Some of these residents may also require one-on-one supervision, can require a lockdown facility, and the staff of these facilities require additional training. This is the type of facility that is located at 301 Sleepy Hollow. I'm not going to repeat the Michigan Enabling Zoning Act. You guys have heard that quite a few times. The Brandon Township zoning, section 46-2, purpose 9, states promoting and protecting the public health, safety, comfort, convenience, and general welfare of the residents, merchants, and workers. I'm imploring you to keep the 500-foot ordinance in place that the building board adopted for the protection of its citizens regarding group homes. I want to clarify, I'm not against group homes or the disabled residents that live there. I understand the need for these homes. I've spent the last 20 years of my career working with mentally disabled people from the age of birth to 105. So I'm aware of their needs and their disabilities. This is about the owners and the employees of this said group home. There are many safety issues as well as great fear associated with the group home currently at 301 Sleepy Hollow. This has led to a high number of residents in the surrounding areas of this home to install at great expense alarm systems and security cameras for protection and peace of mind. 2 sex offenders were paroled to this group home from a level 4 security prison. One of these sex offenders was a pedophile. They were placed in a residential family area with children. They had an extensive 30-year-plus criminal history and were continually in and out of prison. The owner knowingly placed these individuals next door to children in a residential area. The criminal activity from employees of this group have been numerous. Examples are stealing of personal property and physical and verbal threats to one of the neighbors. This threat resulted in the family moving due to feeling unsafe in their own home. The owner of this group home was found in violation due to not completing the required criminal background check on the employee who threatened the Sleepy Hollow homeowner. This employee was in fact on probation. The Department of Licensing and Regulatory Affairs states no person with a criminal background can work in group homes. The owner of 301 Sleepy Hollow group home is now the owner of the same house. He has all intentions of opening another group home in this home. That would mean double the employees coming and going. Will they have undergone the criminal background check? This type of business has a huge employee turnover rate. How is the township going to monitor these employees and know that they have had the proper criminal background check? How will we as residents trust that there are no criminals placed in these homes or employees with criminal backgrounds? I'd like to point out that all of these incidents took place while the owner was under a temporary license. When group home residents are non-compliant and refuse to take their medications, they become extremely harmful, not only to themselves but to the workers and surrounding residents. They can become very combative, exude great physical strength, and act out aggressively, and can cause great bodily harm to themselves and anyone they may encounter. Should they leave their group home in said condition, which has happened numerous times over the years, there are many terrible things that can occur that can put anyone in a very dangerous situation. There are always articles posted in our local newspaper stating that residents have walked away from their homes. One as recent as April 30th of this year. That shows a lack of supervision. If the 500-foot ordinance appeals, it would result in 2 group homes on Sleepy Hollow. This is a dead-end street that consists of 5 houses. It would be excessive concentration. There is already an amount of vehicles already on the street coming and going at all hours of the night from the group home. There can be at any given time 10 to 15 cars at this one house. Can you imagine double that amount with 2 group homes? I urge you please to keep the ordinance.
Thank you. Would you like to submit your comments as well to our recorder?
I can email you a non-scribbled copy.
I'll give you my email address afterwards. Which email?
Anyone else who desires to speak?
I'm speaking back here though.
Okay.
All right, I'll speak loud. Brad Bacher, I live on 1125 Meadow Lake Lane. A lot of what I was going to
Sorry,
say.
could you give me the address again?
1125 Meadow Lake Lane.
Thank you.
A lot of what I was going to say has already been covered, so speak on a couple of things. So I think you're right to question what you were saying at the beginning of the meeting. You know, you guys are getting limited information and you're expected to basically rule whether or not this ordinance should be repealed or not, and that's not normal. There's a reason why we're sitting here. We all care about our community, and additionally, we care about the people that live in these homes. My background, I worked in public safety for 12 years. I've worked in some of the most dangerous cities in the state, and it is abnormal to see numerous group homes next to each other. It is not the norm. A lot of that is because they do want to reintegrate these people into society and have them, you know, whatever they can do to either help them recover or to have like a sense of normalcy. And having a compound is not how you do that. So with your 500-foot ordinance, that can help that, you know. And if you have family-oriented group homes where the owner has people living in the house with them, you can prevent a lot of these issues. Because if I have a neighbor that lives and they have 3 people with them they're taking care of, I'm not concerned about that. But no one in their right mind is going to put a child molester or a rapist or whatever in a house with kids. And that's what we had. And it was mentioned as well, like, I have cameras, I have Guardian, I have a big dog, heavily armed. I mean, that was pretty scary when that was going on. And I've worked in dangerous areas, and I still work in public safety now. And that's concerning. So for me to say that, and I'm usually one of the guys who's like, it's whatever, it's not a big deal. That was a big deal. Those guys were fresh out of prison. And you all know that. So I'm speaking from a position of experience with working in bad areas. Let's see. You know, on my street, there's 12 kids. So, and there used to be more kids on their street before Jake moved. Dave mentioned the thing about justice.gov. Criminals are not afforded any protections. They're not a protected class. It's stated clearly. So, whatever information you guys do not have, well, again, there's a reason why we're here. So to make a decision with no information is, you know, I don't make decisions without information. I leave it as is, and I think you guys made a wise decision putting that ordinance in place. And I'm trying to think what else. That's pretty much it. We just want to have a nice, safe community. We want the people in the houses to be safe. I'm not up here to attack the owner of the home. I'm not up here to do anything of that. We want to have a safe community. I want them to be safe. We want to be safe, and that's it. So.
Thank you. You're absolutely right. We're all aware of what happened with these two individuals who were placed at that facility, I think back last May, and what's transpired since then. And I ran these from the DOC website. So we know. Anyone else who would desire to speak, please give us your name and address, please.
Deanna DeTore, 519 Rolling Acres Drive. So I'm just going to stay here. I've been a resident here for 30 years. I sat on the school board, so I kind of know where you guys are coming from. It's kind of a thankless job. I did attend law school for several years. And I'm just listening to everybody. I don't live near their area, but I certainly can, I certainly feel for our area. I love Brandon. I could live anywhere in the world. This is where I choose to live. It's a great area. Everything you've been giving here tonight, though, if you're on a board, why wouldn't you have rights to talk to the attorney is my question. I mean, I talk to, I'm also a real estate agent, so in Lara, we have rules we have to follow. When I sell a home or buy a home and somebody wants to know who's going to live there, I mean, they have a right to know. I mean, if these people knew who was going to buy their home, they wouldn't have let them, they wouldn't have done it. But the guy lied, and now he's sending other people around to buy their home. I mean, it's misrepresentation. I would also consider calling out the broker too. The broker has to follow rules and instill that if this neighborhood knows what's going on, and any real estate agent going in there should know that they should insist who's going to buy their home, and the people knowing that should know that. A compound area, you have experts in the field here. You have a mental health worker. You have another person who is in these fields. These are experts talking to you. As a commission and planning commission, it is, and I get really fired up and very emotional about this stuff because I have kids and I, being on the school board, I mean, I'm all about the kids in our neighborhoods and the area that we all live. We move out here for a reason. They have that security and have that that peace of mind. And I know Jonathan, and I heard what happened there. And if they're doing things about firearms and they're not following the laws, then why are we not countersuing this guy? I mean, I would tell you just were giving a bunch of laws from all these people and all these letters. You have tons of information to go and fire back at this guy. Don't let this guy push you around. And that's exactly what he's doing. He blatantly told these people that I'm going to devalue your homes. He's already targeting an area how to do that on a dead-end street. It is a compound. He's segregating these people. You can completely go back at this guy. He's now segregating people to live together. How is that, your fair housing law? I mean, there's so many things to go after, and how can anybody make a decision tonight based on not being able to talk to an attorney, knowing why this is in front of them? Is 500 feet really an issue, or is it not? And if that case that the woman stated about, I don't know, was it Lawrence or something? Larkin? 1,500 feet, it's a completely, all those pieces are totally different. I mean, things go to the Supreme Court for a reason. Because they go back, you can go to state court, go to federal court, go to Supreme Court. I mean, fight for your area. We're known for doing that. Do you remember back in 996 or something, when they brought in that shop over for,
bookstore.
do you remember it? Was there a bookstore? For porn on our street on M15. And when they closed it, the owner bought it and it said closed for good, and somebody scratched it out and it said closed for God. It was on the front page of the Citizen. There's nobody in our town like our town. I mean, we're definitely unique. And I just think this is such a really heated topic, and it's a very emotional topic. But you're in a position under whether you're elected or however you got to your position to represent the citizens. And I know you've got lawyers and they can be intimidating and you gotta follow the rules, but it sounds like the rules aren't totally clear, which is why we have lawyers and judges to go and argue those cases. And maybe I'm just making a recommendation as the groups here of Sleepy Hollow and the surrounding areas, maybe you guys put together a suit against this guy for misrepresentation and all the things you guys talked about. I mean, there's a lot that you can go together too, and maybe find an attorney who's willing to do it for pro bono. I mean, it's not only you guys, it's all of us. And maybe table the discussion, maybe recommendation to go back to the board to review it, find a special committee. Maybe a recommendation is to do a special committee to pull all these rules and resources together with your experts here and come up with something. And I don't know your attorney. Some attorneys are great. Some attorneys are crappy. I don't even know what kind of attorney you guys have. I mean, those are all things you as a board should be looking at, not just saying because the township says you got to do it. Maybe the township needs to do something and fight a little bit harder too. And I'm willing to be part of whatever group to be part of the solution. I'm not part of your problem, I'm part of your solution. And probably my 3 minutes are well over. That's it.
We haven't really been enforcing that, although we get 3 minutes, but I want everybody to be able to say what's on their mind this evening. Does anybody else desire to speak? Yes, sir?
I hate to even follow that. That was wonderful. Thank you.
Give us your name and address.
Yep. Bill Ludwig, 133 South Sashball Road. I just got one little tidbit to add on to that, and just to kind of piggyback on that a little bit. You know, on their website, they're all about integrating their clients, if you will, back into society. How in the world are they going to do that out in the woods? Where they're at, there's these 5 little homes and trees. How are they going to integrate their clients back into society? And now they want to bring another home and do the same thing to those poor souls? They're landlocked. There is no services out there to take them out to the store, to take them out and get them back into the community. They can't even take them for a walk. What are they going to do to them? They're stuck in their house every day. It's not even fair to them. I think the 500 feet has to stay in place. I'd say leave it alone. You guys did great the first time. So thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Ludwig. Anyone else who desires to speak? Okay, seeing no further hands, we will close the public hearing on the First Amendment at 8:24 p.m. Planning Commissioners, discussion.
Can we move our discussion until after the close of the second? I make a motion to move our discussion to close the second hearing.
We can do that. I mean, I've already said that what my intent is. I will open a public hearing because we have to do that. We will include all the comments that you all have made as part of the second public hearing as well, since we're dealing with pieces of legislation that are almost identical. They just affect 2 different zoning districts. So if the Planning Commission so desires, we can hold our discussion until after we have held the other required public hearing. Okay, that's what we will do. We will open the public hearing at 8:25 to discuss Chapter 46, Article 3, Section 46-205B2, This is to amend permitted uses in the single-family residential R1A and R1B district to delete the provision requiring that no two adult foster care facilities be located within 500 feet of each other as measured linearly between the closest property lines, and to include state-licensed residential facilities, including adult foster care facilities, consistent with state law. The public hearing is open. I have said that all of the comments that you made in the previous public hearing, we will also include in this one. Is there anybody who has something additional they wish to add? Mr. Burley?
I'll add one thing I don't think I said before. It probably is clear now, but if you, let's say hypothetically, he did have all 5 homes, you're going to have quite a ruckus in the area, I think, because those homes have alarms on them to keep the residents in, right? So that alerts your safety flag right away, it should. And if you have all of those homes across 17, I think it's 17 acres total there, turned into group homes, then you have 6 times 5, you got 30 people in there. If they let them out and running all over, who knows what they're doing, along with the employees, who's going to call cops? You're not going to call cops on yourself. So you got 5 homes on the same team, right?
Mr. Ludwig?
Sorry, just to kind of piggyback on that. I'm 1.5 miles, almost 2 miles down the road from Sleepy Hollow. Crime doesn't stop there. I turned in and busted one of their employees at our house. I got one of them fired from stealing from our house. That far away. They have a long reach. So it's already starting to reach out in our community. That's one of the reasons I'm here, besides I have 2 little kids at home still. And I travel a lot for work.
I was going to mention one other thing. One of the meetings, Lieutenant Glover was up and he spoke about his resources from a sheriff's department's perspective, and kind of explained how taxing it is to be responding to the same properties over and over again. That's something that you guys should look into. And additionally, one of the reasons I moved to Brandon was because we have our own transporting paramedic fire department, and that does make a big difference. You want your community to transport, and you want the employees to be members of the paid by the city, basically, because they have ownership, right, in their community. So if you have a whole row of group homes, you could very easily exhaust those resources. So then you're calling for Groveland, then you're calling for, so from a financial standpoint, you got to look at that too. Where are your resources going? And how safe are these people going to be? This township was not made, as Dave and other people have mentioned, to be it's not an industrial drive. Sleepy Hollow is not an industrial drive. If you're working, like I worked in Flint, and I don't remember ever seeing 5 group homes next to each other, ever. Some of the most wonderful people I met were the people that had family group homes, and they took care of people who needed their help. But that's obviously not, what this issue is about right now. So, but I would look into that with policing and your public safety resources. That's it.
Ms. Morley, I believe you had your hand up.
I think a concern of mine, and if I'm remembering everything properly, when those sex offenders were originally there, the township asked them nicely to remove them. My understanding is this owner told them no, he would not. So they were forced out. So after they were out, things fell a little bit. My understanding is the township also asked this individual to sign a document stating that he would not put sex offenders, criminals, parolees back in the zone. He refused to sign that document. So my concern is if this all goes away, when it calms down, he's going to go right back to where he started. Just food for thought.
Yes?
One more comment. So I'd also consider, maybe if this goes back to the township, is ask what kind of, not fees, finances, what is it, penalties are involved for him not, following a lot of these things that it sounds like he's not even following. So I would definitely add that part to it too, and make them steep. Find out what people are doing and make them steep. I mean, he's got to start to pay the price for his own acts and behavior. I mean, if this is a person who is supposedly trying to rehabilitate people, who he himself is not showing any type of honesty, integrity, character, things that we value as human beings in our society. I mean, how is he supposed to be represented? And he hasn't even followed half of the rules that we already have in place. I mean, he doesn't live in the home. We already know that. Okay, so why isn't he fined? You guys need money, fine him. That's a great way to bring money in. We're already finding our lake. I live on a lake association. I heard about the meeting last week during lake association. And it's really sad that the room was full of people, and here we have a huge issue. And there's only a few of us in this room. I mean, that's kind of disheartening. The township has put a very steep 6% fee on our lake to monitor it, yet we're doing nothing here for our human society to find this guy. I mean, we definitely could do some, I'm sure you can do some extra cash. Everybody can always do some extra cash. So that's definitely something, maybe put that back to the township and say, okay, what are we going to do as a planning commission board? You're here to plan, protect, guide, make it safe and a nice place for us to raise our children and our grandchildren. What are we putting in place now as fines for when people are not abiding by our own ordinances that are in place? Don't be intimidated by these attorneys or by these people who think they can push us around. He's one person. We are a collective group of what, 18,000 or more? I don't even know what the numbers are anymore. But still, you get my drift.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Ms. Burley?
You have a great memory. You remember all of our names. Good for you.
Write
Write
them
it
down.
down. Blue and black striped shirt, Mrs.
Little
Burley.
drawing of everything.
I just forgot to add on to the part where adult foster care group homes, they are a business. They have employees coming and going from the facilities at all hours of the day. There's transport vehicles in that. There's dumpsters in the driveway for us to view. They've added additional parking to the home in that. But I wanted you all to be aware that they collect monthly rent from the individuals that live in these homes in that. So their disability from the state of Michigan gets turned over to this group home owner with the exception of $44 a month that resident is allowed to have for personal use. The food benefits that this person is entitled to through the state of Michigan also gets turned over to the owner of this home. If it is a specialized facility, which the one on our street is, then you get mental health dollars from the state of Michigan, which is huge. It's a huge amount of money. He can get anywhere from $6,000 to $7,000 per resident in that home. So this is a business operating in a rural estate district.
$7,000 a month.
Per month. Sorry, that's per month. Yeah, per month.
Anyone else? Okay, seeing no further hands raised, we will close the public hearing.
Chairman Logan, before we close, I need to ask the gentleman in the back for your name again.
My name?
Yes.
Brad, B-R-A-D, B-A-C-H-O-R.
And I'm sorry, the lady in the front.
It's Dettori, D-E-T-T-O-R-E.
I almost had it.
I hope I don't get broken into.
I had two T's wrong. And your address again, I'm sorry.
It's 519 Rolling Acres.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Got everything you need, Courtney?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we will close this public hearing at 8:35 p.m. Planning Commissioners, discussion on all of this.
I'll go first.
Go for it, Jody.
I took copious notes, And I guess I'm just gonna give you my opinion. I'm gonna, what is this? Is this a motion to repeal, or is it, I would make a motion to suggest we don't change the ordinance and leave it as is, and leave the 500 feet in, and this is why.
Are you making that motion now prior to discussion?
No, I'm giving you my reasons why
Okay.
I would do that. These is my reasons, I'm not making a motion. I'm
Okay,
sorry.
go ahead.
Okay, so my reasons are, one, the planning commission was not presented with any evidence or opinions whatsoever, either in open session or closed session, that the ordinance or the 500 feet violates any law. I understand there was some suggestion about case law, a Larkin case, but, you know, obviously, we don't have any opinions from anyone that this actual 500 feet would violate that. Also, we had written testimony by 5 people, an oral testimony by 6 people, giving us the unique circumstances, how this situation impacts their area. Testimony by several people about how the homeowner, or the owners of the group homes owns 2 homes now and plans on buying all of the homes on the lane when the properties are devaluated. So to me, he is trying to do a cluster of group homes here. I mean, we've got evidence to that. I mean, that's what, and all the other issues that go around with having more than a clustering or a significant number of group homes in one area. Increased traffic, impacts of roads, impacts of public safety, taxing on public resources, you know, it increased traffic from numerous employees 24/7, transport vans, healthcare professionals, doctors. I mean, I just think this is pretty unique, our situation, especially since we have information and testimony saying that this group home owner, the company Flat Rock, and the owner, Nicholas, what's Burnett indicated that he was going to buy all the homes on Sleepy Hollow. So that's why I'm going to put one.
That it, Jody?
Yep, that's it.
Anybody else?
I do. Here.
Lisa?
So my concern, or my opinion on this area is obviously listening to everybody's concern brings me to the care of the people in the home. So if we have this gentleman that has blatantly done some of these things, and we have sex offenders in the home, we have caregivers that we don't know are qualified, my concern would be what's going on with the care of the people in the home. Are they getting the care? So now if we have a second home, do we have those same issues? So that would be, amongst all these other issues, I don't want to forget about the people that are actually being put into the home, being taken care of, you know, to get back into society. Are they really being taken care of? Are they being abused? How do we know if they're being abused? What is the regulations on that? And who's monitoring that? So that's all I have on that.
Anyone else?
I'm prepared to make a motion if you'd like to call for one. If there's no further
I
discussion.
see there's no further discussion, so Donna, you say you have a motion to present?
I do.
Let's
And
do it.
can I couple them together?
I think we probably need to take each one separately, just to keep it
That would
clean.
make more sense
Probably
because,
can be the same motion,
Okay.
but we need to handle them one at a time.
yeah, the ordinances, just so you're aware, deal with different types of properties, and
Right.
that's why
I
I
was
think we
gonna-
should deal with them separately.
Okay, that's fine. Before I do, I just want to make one more comment on what Ms. Hall said. If that second home is purchased, as has been discussed, that would equate to 40%.
Yeah. It's been purchased.
Of that neighbor, okay. So we're looking at a high concentrated area, 40%. Okay. With that said, this commissioner has determined that the public health, safety, and general welfare will be best served if the Code of Ordinance District regulations providing for permitted uses in the RE Rural Estates of Brandon Township, current section 46-204B-3, be upheld in its current form, and thus allow the Brandon Township Board of Trustees to move on whatever legal action they see fit to adopt.
I'll second that motion.
Discussion? We have a motion by Donna. It has been supported by Jody. Courtney, would you call a vote on that motion, please?
Hall,
Yes.
Cordella,
Yes.
Dean,
Yes.
Orsini,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Ferrara,
Yes.
Lothian.
Yes.
On the second order of business before us this evening, I'll further reiterate that this commissioner has determined that the public health, safety, and general welfare will be best served if the Code of Ordinance District regulations providing for permitted uses in the single-family residential R1A and R1B respectively per section 46-205B-2 be upheld in its current form, and thus allow the Brandon Township Board of Trustees to move on whatever legal action they see fit to adopt.
I'll second it.
We have a motion by Donna, and second by Mark. Was it?
Yes.
Any discussion on this motion? Courtney, a vote, please.
Dean,
Yes.
Orsini,
Yes.
Hall,
Yes.
Cordella,
Yes.
Evans,
Yes.
Ferrara,
Yes.
Lothian.
Yes. Okay, folks, the Planning Commission will be sending this back to the Township Board with a recommendation that we keep things as they are now. As Mr. Denon has already said, the Township Board has the final say in what happens. And based on the fact that they have sent this back to us once, I would not be surprised to see it coming back again. But perhaps in the meantime, we can get more information about why the Township Board wants us to remove that 500 feet. And we'll see where it goes from there. But that's where we are now. We're sending this back to the Township Board, recommending that the 500 feet stay there. Thank you all for coming and giving us your opinions this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice job. Thank you.
Motion to adjourn.
Is there any other discussion that anybody would like to have?
No, Mr. Chair.
And I'll entertain a motion to adjourn. Need a first.
So moved.
Moved by Donna, second by Chris. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. We stand adjourned at